So we are ready to proceed with our next session underway in our second half of the PMI Regional Conference, a solo session presenting on the empathy required for project management. We would like to invite Gaurango Banerji to do the honors. Maybe invite Gaurango Banerji on stage, and please join me in welcoming him as well. Ladies and gentlemen.
A family of three, mother, father, and son. They were all scientists. Apart from their love for science, they had love for something else. They all loved chicken, and they loved chicken legs. As we all know, unfortunately, a chicken has only two legs. And since they were a family of three, they always had a fight when they sat together for supper among who among them would not have the chicken leg. Being scientists, they thought they would address this issue scientifically. And they engineered a chicken with three legs. Upon asking, how did the chicken taste? Do you know what they said? For that, stay tuned to the end of my presentation. Ayubovan, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Gaurango, a marketer at Zoho. And like many other marketers, my primary role is to tell stories. And today, I'm going to speak to you about empathy in project management. I know many of you may be thinking it's quite eccentric a topic, but I assure you, at the end of this presentation, each one of you will have at least one key takeaway. So, what is project management? And to do that, what I did, I got into the roots of the word project. And you know what I got? Project essentially means to do something before an action. And management meant control. Somehow, both these put together didn't make sense to me. And that's when I went to the experts. And what does PMI say? It's a practice of using skills and techniques to complete a series of tasks. That did make a lot of sense to me. But in reality, what is project management? How many of you agree to this? Please raise your hands. Right? What you just saw was life without empathy. What is empathy? To me, empathy is basically taking on another's perspective to understand, to feel what they think or what their perspective is all about. And to give you real practical life experiences of different successful people, I'm going to take you through 4 distinct examples from the corporate world that will prove how empathy has been important. And my first and foremost is about a company called Microsoft. I hope all of you know Microsoft. Do you see the graph here? I have listed the stock prices of Microsoft in the year 1999, the fag end of 1999, then 2014, and the latest one in 2024. Any idea why have I chosen 3 distinct timelines? Exactly. All of us know Bill Gates started Microsoft, and the first change of CEO happened in the year 2000. And the second change of CEO happened in the year 2014. And you see, when the second change happened, the stock prices actually fell in those 15 years. What happened in 2014? In Feb of 2014, Satya Nadella took over as the chairman and CEO of Microsoft. And I'm going to speak to you about his book, Hit Refresh. How many of you read this book? This book, Hit Refresh, takes you a series of stories. It's quite inspiring, primarily because Satya Nadella was not from an elite undergrad school. He struggled his way up. He led a very simple life, rather a lethargic life. He wasn't motivated at all into studies. He talks about the importance of empathy. While Satya was being interviewed for Microsoft, during his interview, he wasn't asked any technical question. Do you know what he was asked? He was asked, you're standing on the road and you see a baby crying. What do you do? And Satya responded, call 911. The interviewer held his hand over Satya's shoulders, took him out for a walk, and said, have some empathy, man. You first pick up the baby. You try to care it. You try to stop it from crying. Satya didn't understand the importance of empathy then much, and he got the job. He got to understand what empathy is in a very different manner in his personal life. His first son was born with cerebral palsy. He and his wife were shocked when the son was born with cerebral palsy. And when someone has a kid like that, many a time they think, oh my God, what is my life going to be? That's when his wife came and told, Satya, it's not the time to think about you and me. It's the time to think what our son Zain is going to go through the rest of his life. It was the first time when he understood what empathy is. It's not about me, it's about others. Putting others into perspective, not your selfish desires, not your selfish needs, not your own self. Satya and his wife every weekend used to take turns and be with his son in the hospital. While his son grew up, his son's name was Zain, he was very fond of music and he liked different genres of music. But he had a problem. He couldn't change music tracks on his own. He needed help. And this was very difficult for Satya as well as him because everyone has their own sets of duties. When some few teens came to know about this issue, they actually designed a sensor on the chair of his son where just by a tap of his head like this, he can change the music track. See how empathy helps someone to build a real life solution. Satya also attributes cricket to his leadership skills more than even academics. As we go to the end of the book, Satya made a speech, just like how I'm talking to you, to the entire Microsoft group of employees. And he said, I told my colleagues, I'm quoting him verbatim, that I was not talking bottom line growth. I was talking about our individual growth. We will grow as a company if everyone individually grows in their roles and in their lives. Look at him. He was asking everyone to look out for their innate passion and use Microsoft to build on that passion. He wasn't asking them, this is Microsoft vision, you work on this. You find what your vision is and work on that. That will help our company grow. And the company grew. The shares are at $410 today. I understand the very fact of looking at share price and determining the growth of a company is wrong, but this is the only tangible way I can prove it today. So I want to quote an African proverb here. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Satya wanted to go far, and he took all of them together with him, the entire Microsoft team. My second story is about a car company, but into the recruitment style. This story is going to be quite controversial. Whether it's ethical or not, I leave it all up to you because there are several recruitment strategies used in the world. Even the most ethical may be debatable. How many of you agree recruitment itself is a project management by itself? Very few. Okay, so I have spoken to a few people and all of them agree to it because when you hire in numbers, it becomes a project management by itself. Volkswagen did a very creative thing. They had a problem. They needed 1,000 skilled mechanics. And the problem was all the good mechanics were with the competition. How did Volkswagen handle this? You know what they did? They sent cars to their competitor garages with secret hidden messages. They went into the shoe of a mechanic and they thought, how would a good mechanic identify solutions? Identify problems, identify issues with the car. Let me go deep into it and create an issue and give the car there. And if they are able to find that there is an issue with the car, they may be my target audience. And you see, as you see here, yes, the exhaust pipe must be changed. Speaking of change, would you like to join us? Similarly, at the battery terminal too, good analysis, the battery is dead. If yours are too, contact us. You know what was the result? 53,000 applications for just 1,000 openings. And they did this at a fraction of a cost of any other recruitment campaign. Was this ethical or not? I leave it totally up to you. So to me, empathy is about putting myself in others' shoes. Volkswagen did exactly that. So you may say, empathy may work in strategy, it may work in leadership, it may work in recruitment, but will it work in a shop floor or not? To give you an example about whether it's working on a shop floor or not, I'm going to give you a question now. Car A, the assembly line stops 2,000 times per week. And car B, the assembly line stops 2 times per week. Which one is better? A or B? Great. I expected most of you to say B. So we'll come to why A is better. I'm going to talk to you about the world's famous brand known for their quality-driven revolution, QDR, Toyota. And Toyota incorporated 2 distinct Japanese methodologies in their assembly line, and at the core of which lies their quality. The first and foremost is Jidoka. Basically means automation with a human touch. So before you start assembling a car on the assembly line, all the people there are asked to manufacture the car by their own bare hands. As a result of that, they are able to understand how good can they manufacture it, if there are any changes required or not. And second one is Kaizen, which means change for the better. It also means any employee at any level of the manufacturing process can stop the production if they see improvement they can make and a problem that is occurring in the assembly. That is why Toyota stopped 2,000 times a week. And rarely, if you look at even Toyota advertisements today, they talk about reliability. They rarely break down. And that is a market sentiment all over the world. And this does reflect a company's global sales. Last year, Toyota sold 10.3 million cars globally with a market share of 10.7%. Number 2 and number 3 brands put together don't make up to Toyota's market share. And the core lies empathy. They were able to give power to the man who's on the ground, who understands things much better than someone who's designing on pen and paper somewhere else. And those minor iterations made all the difference. The fourth story that I'm going to talk to you about is our own company, Zoho. Many of you may know Zoho is founded by Sridhar Vembu. And during the pandemic, we were one among the first companies to go completely remote. And while we did that, Sridhar was resonating in mind about his Princeton days while he was doing PhD. And he wrote that in a Common Connect post, saying, I was feeling away from home. I know how you all feel. And as a result of that, we built offices nearer to most of our employees' homes, not in one large city, in smaller tier 2, tier 3 towns of India. As a result of that, several offices were created, and including me, I moved to a smaller office very near to my own home. And this is also where empathy helps. So now that I have explained to you why is empathy important, many of you may have this question in your mind. I'm also like Satya. I really don't have empathy inside me. Can I cultivate empathy? So I went through some research done by University of Cambridge, and they said empathy is a lot dependent on your genes, and women are more empathetic than men. But they had something good in the end. You can actually cultivate empathy. And how can we cultivate empathy? I'll take you through them. The first and foremost, being mindful. Being mindful is basically being more and more aware about your surroundings and what you do. And the more you're aware, the more empathetic you become because you're not lost on your thoughts. You see what's happening in and around you. Be curious about others' experiences. To explain this, I'll take you through a small anecdote that I came across recently. There is a very famous show in India called Kaun Banega Crorepati, hosted by a very famous actor called Amitabh Bachchan. And the participant that day was a lady. She flew into Mumbai from probably 2,000 kilometers away. And that was her first flight experience. And Amitabh Bachchan asked her, how was her experience? And she started describing that she usually travels in train. She always has to look after her luggage, whether it's stolen or not, whether it's tied properly or not, etc., etc. Whereas when she took her first flight, she was just shocked. Somebody comes, they take my luggage, and they deliver it to me at my destination. Only because he asked this question, he got to know about her perspective. Ask the silliest of silliest questions. That's when you become even more empathetic because you understand different experience. Volunteer and social work. I'm talking about another story in India from a very famous medical school where several students belong from an affluent family. And they had a vacation, especially during the pandemic, and they couldn't go back to their home. What they did, they went around and they shopped a lot because they were bored. They had the money and they didn't know what to do. They were shocked. And this was put forward to a monk. And the monk said, I'm going to speak to the students. The monk went, spoke to the students, why don't you come with me? And took the students to a nearby slum dwelling area. The students were shocked. Most people out there were not able to afford 3 meals a day. The entire perspective about life changed. They were able to see that they were going into landfills and try and see if there's some food available or not. So social work or volunteering actually brings in empathy because you see the other side of life as well. Even the most extroverted person may not say everything through their words. They emote. Look out for micro emotions. Sometimes that helps you a lot. Humility. Recently, we had to hire a lot of people in Zoho. And our CEO told, if you have to hire many people, sometimes quality takes a hit. And the best way to judge quality is hire humble people. And as I grew, I was, I was taught by several people about the importance of humility. And the best example I ever came across during my childhood was this. During large cyclones, large trees get uprooted, but the grass remains as it is. This is the importance of humility. Humility also brings in empathy, people. And this is from research all over the world. And just this morning, I read a research paper on Elsevier that said empathy in leadership increases effectiveness. I know all of us here are not looking at efficiency, we want effectiveness. And research has already proven that. So, as I end my presentation, I would like to iterate, Toyota took that stance, but practicality over performance. They had to compromise on performance, but they were very reliable. Just like how one avoids marketing myopia for some short term profit, let's not make a long term loss. Let's look at long term. Eventually, things get better that way. Sometimes letting things get delayed actually helps. It really helps. Completing quality work should be our first priority, and empathy plays an important role in all aspects of our life. How many of you want to hear that story that I started? Few. So, when asked how was the chicken tasting, they said, we just couldn't catch hold of the chicken. It ran so fast. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about AI. AI cannot be empathetic. We humans have to use our own emotions and our own empathy to help others. AI will increase our productivity. There's nothing to worry about AI. Thank you very much. Any questions? I'm available. We have some more time. Okay. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much as well, Gaurango. Can we ask you to remain on stage for a few moments longer, if you don't mind? I'm sure our audience might have a couple of questions for you as well, if you are willing to answer them as well. I think we could have a very enriching discussion. Can we have audience questions? I believe some mics are being passed around. Gentleman right up front, can we have a mic passed over to him, please? Yes, can we have a mic over there, please? Yes, go ahead, please. If you don't mind, please identify yourself and ask your question.
Hi, I'm Prerak from Gujarat, PMI Gujarat chapter. It was amazing session, Gaurango. Thank you very much. Empathy is the key. The question I have is, in the morning also lady asked, and I want to ask your opinion. Empathy is often or many times seen as a weakness. How to practice it such that it is rather a strength? No, it's opinion.
My first manager, he told me, become vulnerable. It's okay. Because if you become vulnerable, I'm just talking to me what my manager told me. You, you actually become open to new experiences and you grow. If you're not vulnerable, what happens? You're worried whether someone will, overtake me or they try to suppress me. In that process, there's no new learning. It's what I learned from him. How much have I practiced it? I'm yet to, frankly speaking, I have not got an opportunity to practice it in detail. But if I do, I'll come back and share it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's lovely to see experience that's veterans learning from young rising stars in the industry as well, and vice versa. Sharing learning experiences is what we are all about here at PMI. And I'm sure we can listen to any other number of questions as well from other members of the audience. This side of the audience is curiously silent. I would encourage you to speak up as well. Can we have a microphone brought to the gentleman right here up front here, please? Yes. Right over here, please. Yes. Thank you.
Just your opinion, Mr. Banerjee. We talk so much about empathy. Is it a time now to put empathy also as a KPI so that it becomes one of your performance parameter on which you'll be judged at the end of the year? It will be looked in the performance appraisal. Because we all are talking about empathy, then why not quantify it and see it as a measurement area of your performance?
You're talking about quantifying to a marketer, and the biggest challenge I have in my own life is I'm not able to quantify anything. You take our sponsorship here, for example. If we go back, our team doesn't ask us anything with respect to numbers. How was the event? Were you able to have good interactions? Whom did you meet? Did you have quality interactions with some senior leaders, project management thinkers, etc.? If they started asking me numbers, I would, instead of speaking here, I would be going around asking you, please buy Zoho projects. So I am not much for KPIs. I would rather have it qualitative over quantitative. But it's again a personal opinion, and there are, I guess, a lot of research has to go into it before you come to a overall consensus.
With that, we thank Gaurango as well. And thank you very much for your contributions to our PMI Regional Conference. Ladies and gentlemen, Gaurango Banerji.